The execution chamber floated in empty space like a tomb made of metal. It circled around a dying red star that made everything look like rust and old blood. Captain Taehyun stopped counting days a long time ago. When you knew you were going to die, time did not matter anymore. The guards were tall creatures that looked like insects. Their arms and legs had too many joints that bent in wrong directions. They pulled Taehyun through long hallways that buzzed with strange machines. His wrists had marks on them from the metal bands they put on him. These bands kept him weak and sleepy, but they also kept him awake at the same time. The aliens wanted him to see everything that would happen to him. Taehyun walked slowly. His legs felt heavy like stone. He remembered the battle that brought him here. His ship was dying in space. Fires burned on every level. His crew was screaming on the communication systems. He had made a choice that day. A terrible choice. He destroyed a relay station to save his people. But that station had families living on it. Children. Thousands of them died when he pressed that button. The guards pushed him into a huge round room. 5 tall platforms stood in a circle. On each platform sat a different type of alien. These were the judges who would decide his fate. Taehyun already knew what they would decide. This trial was just for show. The tallest alien looked like it was made of glass or crystal. Light passed through its body and split into rainbow colors. It spoke in a voice that came from speakers in the walls. Captain Taehyun of Earth, you killed 17,000 beings when you destroyed Junction Relay 7. What do you say? Taehyun lifted his head. His throat was dry and his voice came out rough. I did what I had to do. My crew was dying. That relay was charging weapons to kill us all. I made a choice. Another alien made clicking sounds with parts of its mouth. The speakers changed the clicks into words. You murdered children. Babies were in the nurseries on that station. Taehyun wanted to shout. He wanted to tell them how the relay was hidden as a civilian station, but was really a weapon. He wanted to explain how his ship was crippled and had no other option. But what was the point? These aliens had already decided he was guilty. Just kill me and finish this, Taehyun said. His shoulders dropped down. He was so tired. The crystal alien's body flashed with different colors. You will not die quickly. First, we will take your memories. We will open your mind and record everything inside it. Everything you know about human war tactics. Everything about your people. Then you will die. Taehyun closed his eyes. He heard that this memory extraction made people go insane before they died. At least it would be over soon. The nightmares would finally stop. The guard strapped him into a metal chair in the middle of the room. The chair looked more like an altar than furniture. Long needles came out from the armrests. They moved toward the ports of his spine where machines could connect to his nervous system. He heard the extraction process was extremely painful. The machines turned on with a deep humming sound. Taehyun felt the vibration in his bones. Pain shot through his head when the needles touched his spine. He pressed his teeth together hard. He would not scream. He would not give these aliens that satisfaction. Then something strange happened. The lights in the room started to flicker on and off. The humming sound changed and got higher and higher until it hurt his ears. Around the edges of the room, panels that he never noticed before began to glow with soft blue light. Old systems that had been sleeping for a very long time were waking up. The 5 alien judges moved on their platforms. They looked nervous. The crystal alien's colors changed to warning patterns. What is happening? The clicking alien demanded. From deep inside the chamber, something ancient and powerful woke up. It had been sleeping for 10,000 years. This was the Oracle. It was a machine older than any civilization in the room. The aliens believed it was made by the founders, the godlike beings who created all intelligent life in the galaxy and then disappeared. The Oracle had been silent for longer than recorded history. No one alive had ever heard it speak. Until now, a voice filled the chamber. It filled Taehyun's mind. It filled the empty spaces between atoms. The voice spoke in a language older than language itself. Somehow the translation machines in the room changed it into words everyone could understand. He bears the founder's blood. The words hung in the air like they were solid things. The 5 platforms shook as the aliens pulled back in shock. The crystal alien's body broke light into patterns of confusion and disbelief. The clicking alien's mouth parts froze in the middle of a click. Taehyun could only stare. He did not understand. His mind was confused from the pain of the needles in his spine. What did the oracle mean? What blood? His family came from Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. They were miners and engineers. They had no special history. They had no connection to anything important. "This is impossible," the crystal alien finally said. Its voice had lost all its power and authority. The founders left no children behind. They left this realm before humans even existed. "The human is a war criminal," the stone-skinned alien said. Its voice sounded like rocks grinding together. But even it sounded uncertain now. This must be a mistake. The oracle must be broken. But everyone in the room knew the oracle did not make mistakes. The oracle was perfect. It was eternal. It was the last real voice of the founders themselves. Every alien civilization had built their society on founder ruins. They climbed to the stars by studying founder technology. The oracle was their judge and their teacher, and their connection to the gods who made them. And it had never, not even once in all of recorded history, said that a living being carried founder heritage. Taehyun watched the chaos happen around him. He felt strangely calm, like he was watching everything from far away. One alien was flowing off its platform in agitation. Another alien's wings were beating fast, moving the air in the room. The chamber filled with voices, all talking at once, all demanding explanations, all trying to understand something that made no sense. The oracle's light got brighter, and everyone became quiet. "The test begins," it said. "The lost child is returned. Let the galaxy witness whether he is worthy of his inheritance." The needles pulled out of Taehyun's spine. The metal bands on his wrists opened and released him. He fell forward, catching himself before he hit the floor. His legs were weak from months of being locked up. Taehyun had expected death. He had made peace with death. Instead, he received a destiny he did not want. He was proclaimed heir to beings who might be gods, and he had no idea if that was better or worse than dying. The oracle's chambers were in a part of the station that Taehyun never knew was there. The walls buzzed with power that made his teeth hurt. Strange symbols covered every surface. When he looked straight at them, they seemed normal, but when he looked away, he could swear they moved and changed shape. The next morning, a new alien came to see him. Her name was Dr. Yuna. She had 4 arms, and her skin looked like rainbow colors floating on water. She belonged to a species called the Vess. They lived in water and on land. They were famous across the galaxy for being scholars and scientists. "You must be very confused right now," Yuna said. A small device on her neck changed her words into sounds Taehyun could understand. Her voice sounded gentle and calm. "I do not blame you for that." "Confused is not a strong enough word," Taehyun replied. He sat on a bench that had grown up on the floor when he thought about sitting down. Everything in this place responded to his thoughts. It made him very uncomfortable. Yuna put a flat screen on the table between them. Pictures appeared on it. Ancient ruins. Complicated patterns that looked like genetic codes. Maps of star systems. Every species that can travel through space came from life that the founders touched. They left genetic markers in hundreds of different species, on thousands of worlds. We all carry small pieces of their legacy inside us. But humans developed separately, Taehyun said. Earth was isolated from the rest of the galaxy. That is what we all believed. That is what made your species so strange to us. Yuna moved her 4 hands in a way that meant she was fascinated. When humanity appeared in the galaxy 300 years ago, we were shocked. A species that reached space without finding founder ruins to help them. It seemed impossible. She showed him a genetic sequence that Taehyun could not understand. It just looked like random patterns to him. But now we know the truth. Earth was not isolated by accident. It was hidden on purpose. The founders put your ancestors there and then hid your world so no one could find it. Why would they do that? To run an experiment. To see what would happen if a species reached the stars by itself without the help of ancient technology. Yuna's large dark eyes focused on him with an intensity that made him look away. You are the control group in an experiment that lasted millions of years. Taehyun stood up and started walking back and forth across the chamber. And the genetic markers? Why do I have them when other humans do not? Oh, all humans have them. Yuna corrected him. Every single human carries founder DNA inside their body. But in you, the sequences are expressed differently. Your mother's family tree goes back to a colony that kept unusual genetic diversity. By pure chance, or maybe by founder design, you inherited a combination that makes founder technology recognize you. She made a gesture, and a hologram appeared in the air between them. It showed Taehyun's genetic code next to samples taken from founder ruins on 50 different star systems. The parts that matched glowed with brilliant blue light. When you entered the station, when they tried to extract your memories, the Oracle detected you, Yuna explained. It has been sleeping for 10,000 years, waiting for this exact moment. Waiting for what? What am I supposed to do? Yuna's expression changed. Taehyun had learned to read some emotions on alien faces. She looked worried now. That is what everyone wants to know. And that is why you are in terrible danger. Over the next few days, Yuna taught him about the galaxy he had been fighting in. The 5 species in the quorum were the most powerful, but dozens of other species lived under their rule. All of them had built their civilizations on top of founder ruins. They found temples and technology and weapons they barely understood, but learned to use anyway. The founders had become like gods after they disappeared. Religions formed around them. Political leaders claimed their power came from founder heritage. The entire galaxy's order was based on the myth that the founders had left, giving their gifts to worthy children. And now you show up, Yuna said, with genetic proof that you are more closely related to the founders than any of us. Do you understand what that means for politics? Taehyun was starting to understand. Anyone who controls me controls a claim to founder legitimacy. Worse than that, anyone who kills you removes a threat to their power. Yuna showed him news feeds from across the galaxy. Riots happening on multiple worlds. Emergency government meetings. Religious fanatics calling him either a messiah or a demon. High Arbiter Krell has been particularly loud about this. Yuna continued, showing a figure in ceremonial armor. He leads the Orthodoxy, a faction that believes the founders left on purpose. They think the founders are testing the galaxy to see who is worthy. And I undermine that belief, Taehyun said quietly. Your existence suggests the founders did not leave. They just changed form, that they're still here, inside us, waiting to emerge again. It destroys everything Krell has built his power on. A sound like a bell echoed through the chamber. The Oracle's presence suddenly filled the space. That vast, ancient attention turned toward them. Captain Taehyun, it said in that voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, it is time for the first test. You will go with Keeper Yuna to the Vault of Echoes. Yuna's 4 arms started to shake slightly. Oracle, the vault has been sealed for... It will open for him. They traveled in a small ship piloted by people who served the Oracle. These Oracle keepers treated Taehyun with a mixture of reverence and fear. The Vault of Echoes sat on a moon that was under quarantine. Weapon platforms surrounded it, tracking their approach with obvious threat. The structure rose from bare rock. It was a pyramid made of black material that seemed to swallow light instead of reflecting it. Founder symbols covered every surface, glowing dimly. No one has entered in 3,000 years, Yuna whispered as they got closer. The last group that tried to get in died. All 20 researchers were killed when the defenses activated. Taehyun put his hand on the entrance. The symbols blazed with brilliant blue light at his touch. The massive doors, each one as big as a shuttle, swung silently open. Inside, the air tasted strange, like metal and age mixed together. Holographic displays turned on as they entered. They showed star systems and genetic trees, and mathematical formulas that hurt to look at. In the center of the chamber stood a tall crystal column filled with swirling light. Taehyun walked toward it without thinking. Something he could not name drew him forward. When his fingers touched the crystal, his world exploded. Information flooded into his mind. Not words or pictures, but pure understanding. He saw the founders as they had been. Being so advanced they had moved beyond simple physical bodies. He saw their grand experiment. They scattered themselves across the galaxy, breaking their essence into 1,000 different species. Could evolution produce something greater than they were? Could diversity create what unity could not? Earth had been their control. A bloodline kept pure, not mixed with founder technology, allowed to struggle and adapt on its own. And humanity had succeeded. Against all odds, without ancient gifts, they reached the stars. The message went out on every communication system in the galaxy. Taehyun's face appeared on billions of screens. His words were translated into thousands of languages, so every species could understand. My name is Captain Taehyun of Earth. The Oracle has declared me founder-touched. I am here to tell you what that means. He stood in a small room on a trader's ship. The trader was sympathetic to his cause and let them use the equipment. Yuna operated the recording devices. They had spent 3 days writing this message. They knew they would only get one chance to say it right. The founders did not abandon us. They became us. Every species carries their legacy, not just in small pieces, but as their true inheritors. No one species is better than another. No one has a greater claim to their gifts. On screens across the galaxy, beings of 100 different forms watched in shocked silence. I have access to Vault Echoes. I have seen their vision. They wanted cooperation, not conquest. They wanted their children to surpass them together, not alone. He leaned forward, his face intense. High Arbiter Krell and others like him have built empires on a lie. The lie that some species are more worthy than others. That is not what the founders wanted. That is not what they died for. They did not die. Yuna added from behind the camera. They transformed into us. The broadcast ended. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the galaxy erupted into chaos. Riots broke out on worlds controlled by the Orthodoxy. Religious leaders called Taehyun a false prophet and a liar. Scientists demanded access to the vault to check if his claims were true. Human colonies celebrated the news. Species that had been oppressed saw hope for the first time. The dominant powers saw only threat. Within hours, Krell issued his response. The High Arbiter appeared in full ceremonial armor, surrounded by Orthodox guards. "This human lies," Krell declared. His translator made his fury sound like sharp broken glass. He defiles the founder's memory with his arrogance. The Oracle has been corrupted. I call upon all faithful species to reject this heresy. But doubt had been planted in people's minds. The Oracle's declaration could not be easily dismissed, and Krell's reaction, his obvious fear, told its own story. "We have made him desperate," Yuna said, watching communications flowing from across the galaxy. "That makes him more dangerous." She was right. Within 1 week, 3 founder sites had been attacked by Orthodox forces. They destroyed the artifacts rather than risk them falling into what Krell called heretical hands. Krell was systematically erasing evidence that could support Taehyun's claims. But others were listening. A Velker scientist named Sungmin reached out, offering his research into founder genetics. A Thros pilot called Daeyoung defected from Orthodox forces, bringing schematics for Krell's fleet. Even some humans who had survived the war tracked Taehyun down, offering their skills and loyalty. "We are building a movement," Yuna observed as their small ship became surrounded by other vessels. People from every species, all looking to you for leadership. "I am not a leader," Taehyun protested. "I am just a soldier who made a terrible choice and got lucky." "You are what we have," Sungmin said. The Velker's crystalline body split light into patterns that meant determination. Whether you wanted this or not, you are the symbol, the proof that the old order is built on lies. They traveled from one founder site to another, documenting everything, broadcasting their findings to the galaxy. At each location, the ancient technology responded to Taehyun's presence. It woke up, offered fragments of knowledge, gave them pieces of the puzzle. Taehyun was learning to connect with the systems, though it gave him terrible headaches and left him exhausted. The power was there, vast and frightening, but always just beyond his complete control. "It is like trying to remember a dream," he explained to Yuna after one particularly draining session. "I can feel what these machines can do, but I cannot quite make them obey me. Perhaps that is intentional, she said thoughtfully. Perhaps the founders did not want anyone to have complete control. Too much power in one person's hands. Corrupts, Taehyun finished the sentence. Yes, I am starting to understand their caution. The breaking point came at a place called the Founder's Gate. It was a massive ring structure floating in deep space. According to ancient records, it could create instant pathways across a galaxy. Krell's armada arrived while Taehyun's flotilla was studying it. 50 warships against their dozen civilian vessels. There was no contest. They could not win a fight. Surrender the heretic. Krell's voice boomed across open channels. And the rest of you may live. Taehyun stood on the bridge of their flagship, which was really just a converted cargo hauler. He watched the Orthodox forces deploy into attack formation. He could run. He could probably escape in the chaos. But everyone who believed in him would die. No, he said quietly. Then louder, opened a channel to Krell's ship. His face appeared on Krell's view screen. The High Arbiter had features like a bird of prey, carved from a lifetime of absolute certainty. His expression twisted in contempt. You have lost, human. Surrender now. I am not surrendering, Taehyun said. But I am not fighting either. I am giving you a choice. Let them go. Take me if you want, but let them live. You presume to negotiate? Krell's laughter was harsh and cruel. You have nothing to bargain with. Do I not? Taehyun placed his hand on the console. He had been practicing for weeks, learning to touch the network of founder technology that linked every ancient site. The gate responded, not just to his presence, but to his intention. The massive ring structure blazed alive. Energy poured through it in ways that had not been seen in 10,000 years. The Founder's Gate did not just connect places. It connected times, bridging moments across the galaxy simultaneously. Taehyun showed Krell what he found in the vault. Every piece of evidence, every genetic marker, every shred of proof that the Founders intended cooperation, not domination. He showed him human files, Velker analyses, Thross calculations, all pointing to the same truth. And he broadcast it, not just to Krell, but to every ship in the Orthodox Armada, to every soldier who had been told they were fighting for divine will. Look, Taehyun said simply, see the truth. Decide for yourselves. Krell's fleet wavered. Ships broke formation. Some powered down their weapons. Others jumped away to faster-than-light travel, abandoning the battle entirely. The certainty that had held the orthodoxy together for generations cracked like ice under spring sun. You have destroyed everything, Krell whispered, his voice barely audible over the communication system. Everything I built, everything I believed. No, Taehyun replied gently. I have just shown you what was really built on. What you do with that truth is your choice. Krell's flagship fired, not at Taehyun's fleet, but at the gate itself. If he could not control the truth, he would destroy it. The ancient structure's shields absorbed the blast easily. Founder technology, even when dormant, was beyond anything modern weapons could threaten. The medical base smelled like burnt circuits and fear. Taehyun sat on the edge of a steel bench, watching the news feeds flicker across the wall screens. Each one showed a different disaster. On the left screen, Thross citizens dragged their former leaders into the streets. Their blue skin turned dark with rage as they demanded answers. How many of their elections had been manipulated? How many of their heroes were really human-designed puppets? The middle screen showed human colonies burning. A woman held her child and screamed at the camera that she refused to be called a founder creation. We are human, she shouted. Not some experiment. The right screen displayed something worse. The Velker, those peaceful crystalline beings who communicated through light and mathematics, had stopped glowing. Their cities went dark as different groups refused to share energy with those who interpreted Taehyun's discovery differently. Kyung-soo stood in the doorway. His uniform was torn, and his face carried fresh bruises. His sister had died 3 days ago in a riot on Mars colony. They're calling you a prophet in some places, Kyung-soo said quietly. A demon in others. Funny how that works. Taehyun didn't look up. I only told him the truth. Did you? Kyung-soo walked closer. His boots clicked on the metal floor. You told them part of the truth, the part that made sense to you, but you didn't think about what it would mean to them, to us. On the screens, a Thros religious leader set himself on fire. His followers claimed the gods had abandoned them. His enemies claimed there never were any gods. Both sides fought in his name. I thought knowledge would free them, Taehyun whispered. Free them? Kyung-soo laughed, but it sounded like crying. You took away every story they told themselves about who they were. You made every Thros wonder if their thoughts were really theirs. You made every human question if we earned our place in the galaxy or if we were just programmed to succeed. The door opened again. Admiral Chen entered, looking older than her 60 years. Her gray hair hung loose instead of in its usual tight bun. She had stopped sleeping 3 days ago. The Velker are dying, she said simply. They need consensus to survive. They're a hive mind that functions on agreement. You created questions they can't agree on, so they're fragmenting. Their biology can't handle it. Taehyun finally looked up. How many? 1,000 so far. Maybe millions by next week. Chen sat down heavily. The Thros death count is higher, but that's war. The Velker are just fading, like turning off a light. Kyung-soo slammed his hand against the wall. We should have stayed defeated. At least then we knew who we were. Slaves. Taehyun asked. We were slaves to a lie. Maybe, Kyung-soo said, but my sister was alive. The Velker were singing. The Thros were building instead of killing. What's your truth worth compared to that? The question hung in the air like smoke. Taehyun had no answer. Admiral Chen pulled up another screen. It showed the Founder Station, still hidden in deep space, still untouched, still keeping its secrets. There's more in there, she said. More truth, more secrets. The question is whether the galaxy can survive learning them. So we stop, Kyung-soo said. We say this is enough. We let people believe whatever helps them sleep at night. That's not how truth works, Taehyun said, but his voice cracked. He thought of the Velker going dark. He thought of Kyung-soo's sister. Then maybe truth is the enemy, Kyung-soo replied. He looked at Taehyun with something between hatred and pity. You want to be remembered as the man who freed the galaxy. Instead, you'll be remembered as the man who broke it. He left without another word. Admiral Chun and Taehyun sat in silence, watching the galaxy tear itself apart on screen after screen. Somewhere in the chaos, philosophers debated whether ignorance or knowledge caused more suffering. Religious leaders preached about tests of faith. Scientists argued about the ethics of truth-telling. But in the medical bay, two tired people simply watched and wondered if some discoveries were better left buried in the dark between the stars. What do we do now? Taehyun finally asked. Admiral Chen closed her eyes. I don't know. I really don't know. The screens kept flickering. The galaxy kept breaking. And somewhere in deep space, the Founder Station waited, holding more truths that no one was ready to hear. The conference hall had been quiet for exactly 17 minutes. Delegates stood in small groups, drinking water and speaking in low voices. Some laughed nervously. Others checked their communication devices. The guards leaned against walls, their weapons lowered. That was when the screaming started. Min-ji never saw the blade coming. She stood near a window, looking out at the stars, when a Thros delegate she had shared lunch with stepped behind her. The knife was made of sharpened bone, ancient and invisible to every scanner in the station. Her blood splashed across the glass before she could make a sound. Hyun-woo spun at the noise. His enhanced reflexes, the gift of his Founder genetics, kicked in immediately. He moved faster than any normal human could. The first attacker died with a crushed windpipe. The second fell with broken ribs. The third lost consciousness before hitting the floor. But there were too many. A dozen blades found him from different angles. He died standing, his fists still raised. Across the hall, Jihai's translucent body rippled with alarm. She tried to flow away, to escape through a ventilation shaft, but the attackers knew her biology. They had studied the Founder touch carefully. Their blades carried a chemical compound that disrupted her cellular cohesion. Each strike made her lose form. She dissolved into a puddle on the floor, her consciousness scattering like morning fog. Tae-hyun had been talking with a Velka representative when the chaos erupted. His soldier instincts returned instantly. 20 years ago, before the defeat, before the truth, he had fought in the last human resistance. His body remembered. He grabbed the nearest weapon, a metal chair, and swung it at an approaching attacker. The thrust fell hard. Tae-hyun didn't wait to see if he would get up. He ran toward the other founder touched, shouting warnings. Seo-jun, the young woman who could sense electromagnetic fields, cowered behind an overturned table. Her gift made her sensitive to violence, to the electrical impulses of dying brains. She screamed as each death registered in her mind. "Move!" Tae-hyun grabbed her arm and pulled her up. The Oracle's chamber. Run. 2 more founder touch joined them. Marcus, whose enhanced strength had saved 3 delegates from the initial attack, and Yuki, who could see in spectrums beyond human vision, and had spotted the attacker's coordination. They ran through corridors slick with blood. Behind them, Krell's voice echoed through the station speakers. He had taken control of the communication system. "Purge the contamination," he shouted. "Cleanse our species of the founder corruption. We will not be their tools." Guards appeared in their path. For a moment, Tae-hyun didn't know whose side they would take. Then they opened fire at the attackers pursuing them. Some humans still believed in protection over purity. The Oracle's chamber lay at the station's center. Its door was built from founder technology, nearly indestructible. Tae-hyun's palm against the scanner made it slide open. They stumbled inside, dragging wounded with them. Marcus collapsed immediately. His enhanced body had taken 17 stab wounds that would have killed a normal human after 3. He breathed in ragged gasps, his blood pooling beneath him. Seo-jun rocked back and forth, holding her head. "They're still dying out there," she whispered. "I can feel them. Each one is like lightning in my brain." Yuki checked the door's security. "It will hold, maybe for an hour, maybe less if they bring plasma cutters." Tae-hyun moved to the Oracle, the ancient founder interface that had started everything. Its surface glowed with soft blue light, patient and waiting. "Can you help us?" he asked it. "Can you stop this?" The Oracle's light pulsed. Words appeared in every language simultaneously. Violence between inheritors was predicted. Resolution protocols available. Warning: implementation will alter remaining founder touch permanently. "What does that mean?" Yuki asked. Before anyone could answer, the door shook. Something heavy slammed against it from outside. Then Krell's voice came through the door's communication panel. "Calm now." Almost friendly. "Tae-hyun, you know this must happen. We cannot evolve while wearing their chains." "This is an evolution," Tae-hyun shouted back. "This is murder. Is there a difference? Every birth requires something to die. The old human must die, so the new human can live. You should understand. You killed the old stories. Why not kill the old bodies too?" The door shook again. Marcus coughed blood. Seo-jun's screaming had faded to whimpers. Yuki's eyes flickered through impossible colors as her panic grew. Tae-hyun looked at the Oracle. What are these protocols? More text appeared. Founder genetics can be amplified. Inheritors would gain ability sufficient for self-defense. Side effects include loss of original identity, transformation into post-biological entities, possible rejection by baseline species. "We become like them," Yuki whispered. "Like the founders. Not human anymore." "We're not human now," Seo-jun cried. "Don't you understand? We stopped being human the moment we were born with our changes inside us." The door groaned. Metal began to glow red-hot as plasma cutters started their work. Tae-hyun's hand hovered over the Oracle's interface. One choice would save them, but transform them into something new. The other would let them die as martyrs, as the last humans who carried the founder touch. Outside, Krell's people cut through the door. Inside, the Oracle waited for an answer, and Tae-hyun realized that every choice he made had led to this moment, where truth and survival stood on opposite sides of an unbridgeable gap.